Well, Alex, let's bring you back in. If America is a teetering democracy, does it get any better in Germany?
It gets a lot worse in Germany, and precisely because of this federal and state level agency for the protection of the Constitution. The things that Mark was telling us about a moment ago, we must have democracy, there ain't no other way. It's very bad to say that democracy is not the best system. Things that have been virtually outlawed without legislation by His Majesty's government in the past weeks and months. They've really hit with a vengeance in Germany, because this goes back decades earlier because of Germany's unique history in the matter. Junge Freiheit is the magazine, I would say the premier conservative and constitutionalist publication in Germany, which has carried this title, which turned out to be far and away the most read thing they've ever published. So the byline above the headline is schoolgirl, she's 16, that's not in the headline, schoolgirl frog marched out of education. That detail is now controversial, as I may get to. And then the main headline, a quotation from her mother: "What was done to my daughter is something I wouldn't have thought possible." What is this all about? Well, the detail for those who speak German is best summarized in Kontrafunk's flagship Sunday format with Burkhard Müller-Ullrich, Die Sonntagsrunde. Kontrafunk is based in Germany and Switzerland and has an Austrian branch as well. But I'll give the long and the short of it here. So we have a young lady who a couple of months ago posted a couple of TikTok videos. One of them said that Germany and the Smurfs have something in common. She said they're both blue. Now, blue, as you may recall if you've seen my recent presentations of electoral polling in this particularly Eastern Germany, is the color of the Alternative für Deutschland party, which is known north of the 20% support barrier, sending the authorities scuttling in panic in those Eastern German states. Now, where this happened, this frog marching was in fact at the top of Eastern Germany, in a small town which is right on the Baltic coast and in a very conservative area, which survived the worst of being in the East German system. So this has shocked the locals. So that was the first thing that came to the authorities' attention about this young lady. And for that reason, this Kontrafunk episode has been subtitled Staatsschutzrelevante Schlümpfe, or Smurfs of Interest to Homeland Security. Now, the second post which the young lady made was that she said, Deutschland ist kein Ort, sondern Heimat. Germany isn't a place on the map. It is a home country, or a home or a homeland. Any of those is a valid translation for Heimat. It's a German term for where you feel at home. These two statements were decided by the state police of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern, and particularly the counterterrorism people, the Verfassungsschutz, to be what they call verfassungsfeindlich, inimical to the constitution, not verfassungswidrig or unconstitutional, but they used this term, which only appears once or twice in the German penal code, and then only with reference to the display of Nazi symbology. So they invented it out of whole cloth that there was such a thing as staatsfeindlich or verfassungsfeindlicher Inhalt, or content online inimical to the constitution. And here's where it gets nasty. The headmaster of the school and the police, when asked by Junge Freiheit and others about this, say, oh no, she wasn't frog marched out. No, not at all. The police simply stood at the door of the chemistry classroom and the headmaster called her out to have a word with the police. So the police were just escorting the headmaster, you see. Every detail has been lied about until they're blue in the face. The kind of protocol the young lady was given, which is called a Gefährderansprache, or a formal caution that one is a risk or at risk, isn't part of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern state law. It is in other states like Lower Saxony, and where it is on the statute books, you must, of course, as a minor citizen, have a parent or guardian with you, which she didn't. What she was told is, for your own safety, where have we heard that before, you must stop posting this content inimical to the Constitution. We don't have time for a long constitutional discussion, but constitutions bind our governments. And this isn't just an abstract philosophical point. When you get to a supranational body like the EU, there are all kinds of other checks and balances supposedly in the system, precisely because these bodies can bind the individual, right? So state bodies trying to say the Constitution applies to you as an individual is absolutely expressly rejected by Western countries as part of their model. Nowhere more so than in Germany because of their history. So these people are acting off the cuff. when the Interior Ministry of the state was asked what they'd done, one of the things that happened was that the Interior Minister said, that's a guy called Christoph Pegel, I am quite convinced that what was done was proportionate. So that's how useful the proportionality test is. It's completely subjective. Another thing was that the police, who had frog marched the girl through the school, turned around to Junge Freiheit, the magazine that broke the story, and said, this girl is a vulnerable minor. You shouldn't be reporting on her because she's vulnerable because of her age. The discussion that was done on Kontrafunk about this included the detail that in the neighboring state of Brandenburg, also an AfD-leaning state in eastern Germany, they now have systematic political loyalty tests for state employees, for civil servants. The rebuttal by the Norddeutsches Rundfunk, the state-funded media for that part of Germany, was so one-sided a defense of the state authorities that they even described right-wing organs as having alleged that the police removed the young lady from classes. And also the Interior Ministry tacitly admitted that there was trauma in the school by replying to journalists. At no time was there need for educational psychological support at this school after the incident. So we'll now bring on screen Remix News, which is very good on Germany and Central Europe. They have German teen pulled out of classroom and questioned by police for TikTok posts stating Germany is her home. In the German original, she didn't even say that. Although the text didn't say that, it just said it is a home for people. And look at this detail. When the mother questioned the school principal or headmaster and said, why don't you contact me first, or indeed have a word with my daughter first if you think there's a problem with my daughter, he, quote, told me that he wasn't allowed to do that. He was told to inform the police immediately. This man is reportedly young and a Wessie, so he's drafted in from Aachen on the Dutch border, very liberal West German city. So that seems to be part of the problem, that because of his generation background and mindset, he thinks that anything that comes from the Interior Ministry or the Education Ministry, including, as we reported recently, we must crack down on AfD, no matter how innocuous, he thinks that's law. He doesn't see that the judiciary and the parliament have a role in government. Everything comes straight from the executive in these people's minds. The discussion on Kontrafunk majored on this, that this was an exemplary modern headmaster by Nancy Faeser's terms at the German Interior Ministry. Although it's a federal state, no, she shouldn't be fiddling with individual states' education systems. But he's obeying what orders he's hearing from the top, which is that AfD are the enemy. So the long and the short of it was that they are protecting this. These new kind of headmasters are protecting the state and do not see any duty of care either to the pupils or duty of candor to their parents. I suppose I would ask, with a lot of this stuff going on in Britain now, is it the case that a lot of headmasters in Britain think the same way, that they're there for the state? So what's happened this morning, an update that we've got, I think this is the very same high school in Ribnitz, but I can't confirm yet. Some activists have put up this banner, Heimatliebe ist kein Verbrechen. It's not a crime to love your home country. And the most pithy discussion of aphorism about this phrase that I heard in the radio show there was "Im Kleinen zeigt sich das Große." Little things show us which way the wind is blowing. If you think this is just a German problem, well, look at our Prevent coverage, especially Debbie's recent interview, Prevented Education, here on ukcolumn.org. And look at this also from Massachusetts, not even the wacko coastal part of Massachusetts, but deep into western Massachusetts on the Connecticut state line, which is the part that's supposed to mirror middle America and be a placid backwater. 6th, 8th graders, that's 13-year-olds, facing criminal charges. Again, a jumped-up district attorney, a state prosecutor, thinking that he can do this. And if you follow the link on the next page here, Littoria, you will the first link in that page will take you to a very swaggering presentation by the district attorney in question, Mr. Guluni, simply saying these 13-year-olds in a private chat saying nasty things about black people were infringing the civil rights of people, and that's a crime. That the crime is threatening to commit a crime. That's what they've been charged with. Although there was no direct speech to these people, and we don't know what the threats are. A very politicized DA. So, it's happening even in the one country in the world, the USA, where you constitutionally cannot get the idea of hate speech. Well, at least you can't federally, but the states and the counties and the districts are now trying.
Alex, thank you very much for that. Some really serious matters there. We'll bring some of that discussion into Extra Time. And Mark, I'm going to say to you, we'll also bring your World Health Organization section into Extra Time. So, Alex, just take us out, close today's news with your little report on constituency results over there in Ireland.
A few days ago, voted no in kind of 2/3 level majorities to two proposed amendments to the Irish Constitution, Bunach na hÉireann, that the government had been cheerleading for together with the state-funded media, RTE. And the questions were, should we get rid of the constitutional article which says that it doesn't say a woman's place is in the home, as it was often presented as saying. It was saying that because we as a state cannot function without women's duties in the home, we will not jeopardize women's role in the home. And the second vote, which also was embarrassingly for the government overturned, was should we redefine marriage so that it's not the basis of the family, but that any so-called durable relationship, never been tested in jurisprudence, that would be the basis. And the Irish people were canny enough to see through that, except if we put that back on screen, in the one constituency in the bottom corner of County Dublin, in the inset there, that's the constituency of Dún Laoghaire, the port where many people may have entered Ireland from. Everywhere else in the country, including everywhere in County Dublin, other than Dún Laoghaire, said no.
Okay, Alex, thank you very much for that. Well, I'm just going to end by echoing a comment that somebody made during today's news in our chat box, and they said, has the system become worse or has the veil been lifted? I'm going to say, no, the system is getting worse and the veil is being lifted. So two things are happening simultaneously. The system is getting worse, it's accelerating, but also the veil is coming off. And remember that whilst we can still speak, we need to do everything we possibly can to lift the rocks and show what's really happening. Because if we lose free speech, as Alex has been indicating in particular, then we will simply be unable to fight. So it's up to all of us, UK Column, it's also up to our audience. Get out there, get speaking up and point out the things which are clearly wrong. We'll end there. Thanks very much for joining us for today's news. If you're a member, please do stay with us for another few minutes and we'll be running UK Column Extra to talk about more of today's news in more detail. We'll see you then. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.